Today on the Topping Show, Trump and Zelenskyy meet at Trump Tower. Nancy Pelosi's husband sold about $500,000 worth of Visa stock right before the DOJ antitrust lawsuit debuted. Ubisoft's Rainbow6 video game allows Kamala 2024 username, but not Trump 2024. Minnesota hires their first non-citizen police officer, a female from Somalia. Southwest Airlines sets a time frame for assigned seating. Vail Resorts firing 16% of their corporate staff. And Facebook fined about $101.5 million for breach in 2019. All of that and much more on The Topping Show. Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in today. Today's episode of The Topping Show is proudly sponsored by Topping Technologies. Topping Technologies is an IT value-added reseller and services company with a special proficiency IT security. Heck, I see their founder at least twice today. I say he's quite handsome and brilliant. He's me, you see, that's a joke. If you're an IT leader or business owner, you can reach out to the team at sales@toppingtechnologies.com. Also, try and get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of the month. So if you can click that button and tell your friends, I would greatly appreciate it. Now, going over to the business part of the podcast, you have Southwest Airlines debuting a timeline for their assigned seating. That was brought to us thanks to the good old, well, not really good, but moderately interesting, LinkedIn, which granted is just Microsoft diet since they bought them out years ago. Now, this is specifically Emma Thorne, who's the writer over there, saying, quote, Southwest has finally laid out a timeline for its controversial decision to offer assigned seating, saying the new boarding process will start in the, quote, second half of next year. Also in the works, premium seats, vacation packages, and a partnership with Ice Sinclair. Southwest is also rolling out a transformational changes, says CEO Bob Jordan. As the airline fends off activist investor Elliott Investment Management, the embattled airline is also raised its third quarter revenue forecast and announced a $2.5 billion in share buyback. The changes come a day after Southwest said it would slash service through Atlanta. Oh, darn. Which, again, not financial advice, but historically speaking, when a company starts to buy back their stock, that's usually when they think, well, our stock's going to be worth a lot more in the future, so we're going to buy it on the cheap. So that's why a lot of investors are saying this is a good sign maybe to buy now, though personally I'm a little skeptical because airline is always a very precarious industry and kind of ebbs and flows, and it's a kind of a big budget item for a lot of businesses to cut back on when times are tough, decrease that commercial flight, and just use more Zoom and Teams meetings. But yeah, it was pretty interesting to say it's a controversial thing because, again, I guess being a Texas-based company, which is the best way to pronounce it, well, Southwest is really good old Fort Worth, I believe, actually, specifically, or Love Field, actually. Apologies about that. But they had unassigned seating, so first come, first served, you had to race towards to get your favorite spot. And I guess a lot of people are irate. Now, in terms of logistics, I can understand being a lot easier, and some people do prefer to go online and choose their seating, but it's kind of interesting. It's controversial. And again, in terms of boycotting, I'm not sure how effective that would be since I'm pretty sure most every other major airline already has kind of the default so that you have the assigned seating. And so in some cases, you get so granular, you can actually go online and choose a specific seat in terms of where you want to sit on the plane. But yeah, kind of an interesting development at Southwest. I honestly, in terms of my preference of, travel, I'd much rather drive anywhere. Cannot beat having 3 pedals, a little windshield time, a little open road. Dude, I would much rather drive up to even 14 hours on the open road than take an airplane where you lose all of your rights, your privacy to defend yourself and all that kind of good stuff. And who knows who you're going to be sitting next to. You got your car, the gold ICE engine, a stick shift. It takes less than 3 minutes to gas that thing up. You're good to go. But I partially digress. Let me know in the comments what are your thoughts. Are you a fan of this new policy? Do you think they'll lose any business because of it? As always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting business news, you have Vail Resorts firing 14% of corporate staff as they try to decrease their cost, a trend we see more and more. Now, interestingly enough, I actually found this article at Microsoft Start. Is somehow a company, apparently. Well, realistically, it looks like Microsoft, but it's actually MSN.com, which, geez, talk about a throwback. Now, bringing up the specific article here, brought to us thanks to Christopher Palmier, who's a writer over there. It also looks like rebranded of Bloomberg. You see one of those nice little ski resort slopes. And they say, quote, Vail Resorts, the world's second largest owner of ski resorts, is letting go 14% of its corporate employees and less than 2% of its total workforce as part of the efficiency drive after reporting a widening loss in the final months of fiscal 2024. The company's 2-year plan is aimed at producing $100 million in annual cost savings by the end of fiscal 2026, according to a statement. Vail also said that sales fell 1.3% to $265.4 million in the fourth quarter and July 31st, and its loss widened to $115.9 million before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortization. You see, like, skier visits for the all fiscal 2024 declined 9.5% due in part to the unfavorable conditions in North America and Australia. Sales of passes for upcoming season are down about 3% through September 20th. Company forecasts full-year EBITDA of $838 million to $894 million. Their portfolio has grown to 42 resorts from 10 over the past decade. Company employs 7,600 people around year in fiscal 2024, according to the filing. Which, I mean, I don't know. I'm pretty frugal in terms of my lifestyle. I'm trying to reinvest money back into the businesses that I own. But yeah, when it comes to unprecedented economical and political uncertainty, I'm surprised people aren't just cutting this cost. I mean, this seems like the easiest thing to just look at your yearly budget and go, get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of that. You don't need it. It's 110% in pure luxury, with the exception if you're perhaps a ski or snowboarder by profession. Even then, I'm pretty sure they rent their own half pipes or widgets or special parks. They don't have these similar parks that like regular folks go to, probably. But yeah, I can't but think of more of a luxury product. Maybe it's the folks that are buying this aren't as hurt by the economy, but yeah, in terms of all the companies to start to do cutbacks and to have their decrease in business, I'm surprised it's not worse. I'm surprised their sales aren't down, 20, 30%. And granted, they're pretty diversified. They have resorts all over. They have a bunch of them. But yeah, I mean, even they are, trying to cut their costs, as most companies are these days. It is hilarious that there's groups on the Facebook where they say, "Oh yeah, the economy's great. My groceries aren't expensive at all." I'm not sure if they're inebriated because they're drinking Bud Light or something, but yeah, it's a thing where I don't know. With the exception of the defense industry, I still haven't found a single industry that's really has much of a growth rate. Most companies in the U.S. especially are kind of putting most initiatives on pause and trying to cut costs left or right, which these folks are. But yeah, should be told, when's the last time you actually went on a ski trip or a snowboarding trip? And I mean, are you surprised it's not worse? Are you surprised you're not trying to axe it in 20, 30, 40% cost? Like, again, during this time of the year, I mean, especially with all the uncertainty, I'm still astonished that this industry is doing as well as it is. Granted, I know it's going down, but yeah, of all the luxury products out there that people are still buying, I'm surprised. Are you going on vacation lately? I mean, Lord knows I'm not working 105 hours a week. But let me know in the comments, because as always, it'd be fascinating to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the culture part of the podcast, you have Ubisoft's Rainbow6 allowing Harris 2024 username, but not Trump 24, which also shows how little I appreciate that software company, or I don't know, I'm pretty sure the Frenchmen, they're not as cool as the OG Activision. I mean, they were on the Atari 2600, with River Raid being one of the best games of all time, obviously. But yeah, Ubisoft, I'm pretty sure they're the France-based company. Not too surprising they're not about the free speech after they arrested the Telegram founder. Now, it's brought to us thanks to Libs of TikTok, which she says, quote, Rainbow Six game, a video game by Ubisoft, doesn't allow you to use Trump 24 as a nickname, but will let you use Kamal 2024 or Harris 2024. And interestingly enough, I don't think there's actually any volume to this video. Look at that. Huh. They get a big, what is it? An unexpected error. I'm trying to see what the error code specifically says here on my screen. They're trying to enter all the Trump codes. It specifically says, what's the error they give? It says, nickname is unverified. Please try a different one. Then when they try Kamal 2024 or Harris 2024, there go. Yep, gets a nice green box saying Harris 2024. You can use that, which, I mean, no one's surprised. Most video games these days, most developers, most of them, they're all leftists or left-leaning. I mean, what was it? A couple of months ago, they said that even Call of Duty, which used to be a vanguard for free speech, I mean, the OG Xbox 360 with Modern Warfare 2, the chat rooms in that, it was like America, prime freedom. Like, you can say whatever you want, and Lord knows if that was recorded back then, no one would have jobs because all the teenage boys, including myself. The humor, the trash talk was bar none back in the day, and now they're using AI to automatically boot people out of lobbies, censor them, and ban them for life if they say certain things when they're playing first-person shooters, which ridiculous, and also a good way to piss off the consumers and make sure they go somewhere else. But I partially digress. Now, I'm surprised this didn't go as viral as I thought. And granted, this isn't one of the biggest video games out there. It's not Grand Theft Auto or Call of Duty, which, I mean, those are probably two of the biggest titles, especially by revenue. I mean, Rainbow Six always been more of a boutique game, and same with Ubisoft. They're not the number one publisher out there. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're still one of the largest, but they're not even the top 3 or 4. I mean, people know Rockstar, know Activision. You don't. Well, of course, you have. Well, it used to be separate, but now you have Activision Blizzard, which more of these things, or Microsoft, just like Rare, one of the best developers of all time. But I partially digress. Going to the comments, one of the first ones comes from America Papa Bear saying, "quote Why does everything have to be woke?" Getting 47 likes, which I could understand. Maybe I don't agree with it in terms of I don't think you should censor it all, but I could understand the perspective of the video game company wanting to have no politics and having to be apolitical, so they would have no Trump or Kamala. But of course, they only have very similar to the Amazon. Oh, sorry, the Amazon girl and the speaker. I don't want to trip yours if you have one of those little spy devices in your home, but it would only say positive things. So they'd ask the little speaker lady, "Why should you vote for Kamala?" And it would say because she was a diverse woman. I'm not joking. That's what it used to say. And then if you ask reasons to vote for Trump, well, the little lady's box speaker would say they're not allowed to give a political opinion. I don't think it's coincidence that all these big tech companies, it always leans one way. Fascinatingly enough, the companies that say they care about diversity don't really care about the diversity of thought, which I would argue is one of the most important. You also have Paul Zupa saying, "quote More election interference," getting 18 likes, which, I mean, I don't think that, yeah, you could argue that certainly, because again, it's allowing more advertising and more conversations. Yeah, just I guess more the topic of Kamala being out there, and you're not even I don't know. I don't even think it's going to affect even 1% of the poll of the voters out there. But yeah, I think you could argue election interference if you're only allowing one candidate's name to be displayed in the video game. Yeah. Now you also have Evan Dreyer saying they have pronouns in the bio. Says it all. Boycott them. Getting 24 likes. Let's see. D. McLaughlin says, "quote The whole industry is extremely liberal." Getting 24 likes. True. Let's see. Absent Insight says, "quote Rainbow Six is fun, but they made a whole trans character, which is how I knew to stop playing that woke garbage." Getting 11 likes, which also shows how, I mean, those video games are so they've been as long for so long and iconic. I'm pretty sure they got a couple on the Nintendo 64, the real OG video game console, and that got 11 likes. See here. Don Wick says wokeness intensifies, getting 11 likes. No offense, but it says, "of course it's a rainbow," getting 11 likes, which again is iconic. It's a novel by Tom Clancy. I mean, Rainbow Six, all those rainbows. But yeah, it is kind of funny that the meaning of that word has changed dramatically throughout the decades. Let's see here. Rafael Santiago says Call of Duty Mobile is even worse. It's one of the most popular games out there, and it's more woke than your morning cup of coffee. Checks out some of these characters you can play, which more woke than your morning cup of coffee. I don't know. They just sounds awkward. I understand it, but it's not the best word pun out there. He could have done better. Let's see. So these are some of the characters. Yeah, a lot of gender androgynous. I think I said that right. Characters. Then you have character that looks like a lady with pink short hair, or I guess it's not like bald short. It's like neck short. And then she has like a white captain suit, like a navy captain. And she has weird gloves, anatomically not correct. The hands are ridiculous, like comically huge. I didn't get any likes, but it was an interesting post. Hammer Productions says they wormed their way in everywhere, getting 5 likes. Now, again, this game is so small relative to the video game ecosystem. I mean, I don't know how many. Well, I'm not sure if there even be a boycott trending, to be quite frank, because again, it's not one of the biggest games. Like even my friends who still buy video game consoles and they play first-person shooters, no, yeah, none of them really play that one. I mean, they had the cult following, but yeah, in terms of people actually boycotting the company, because there are also so many video game companies that have similar policies, I don't think that'll happen. But again, let me know in the comments. I mean, video games is one of the largest industries, even bigger than movies these days in the United States. I mean, it's a huge part of Americana, the video game culture. But yeah, let me know in the comments your thoughts, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting cultural news, you have Minnesota hiring their first non-citizen police officer who is a woman from Somalia. Very interesting development. Now this comes to us thanks to Libs of TikTok and the good old X Twitter. And she says, quote, breaking, the Minneapolis Police Department just added their first non-citizen officer to their police force. Huh. Fascinating what they think are good ideas in Minnesota. See, it's about 2 minutes long. Now, to the credit of this local news anchor, they did suit up, or the gentleman did, as all men should. They just look, I'm going to say as the youth might say, as my grandpa would say, if you were alive, quite dapper. I believe, I'm trying to give credit to this news broadcast. I think it just says, is it ABC5 Nightcast? They're not very great at branding. The logo's too small to see on the screen here. Oh, there we go.
The Minneapolis Police Department swore in new officers.
And that includes its first ever female Somali officer. Ben Henry was there and shares what she and other recruits hope to accomplish. Lots of hope there tonight, Ben.
There is. The department now has its first ever Somali woman officer and permanent resident, which is a non-citizen who's lived in the community since she was a child. Lindsay, you said it, one word that was used a lot tonight, hope. Mayor Jacob Fry says he sees and feels the department building back up.
Hope. I prefer the term competency. Perhaps they will say she's the strongest woman of all time, beat the obstacle course and the written exam. Well, maybe I'm jumping the gun here.
Not just in numbers, but in culture.
Oh.
The department now has 23 more officers. That includes 11 recruits and 12 lateral officers. Those are people joining MPD from other agencies. Some have more than a decade of experience.
Just as they're about to take their oaths today before all of you and before God, I know that I have a sacred obligation to do that all I can for them.
There you can see the Somalian, the Minnesota flag where they bastardized with their original beautiful, almost 100, was it 100 years they had the Minnesota flag? And then they bastardized it. It looks like a child with a crayon drew it. Well, it's an insult to child drawing, actually. But yeah, just look up the new Minnesota flag, sorry. It's basically just a bastardized, simpler version of Somali's flag, because so many of them have been imported there.
Them. And I pledge to you tonight that I will do everything within my power to take care of them.
Joining the department, the first ever Somali woman officer, Ikran Mohammed, and permanent resident, Officer Leslie Vera. Vera is a non-citizen, and Chief Brian O'Hara says she was able to join the force due to a recent law change. The two reflected on a big night and new career.
I didn't see anybody that really looked like me, Latina. I'm sure there was, but I didn't see that. And I was like, I want to be like them. And I want to have that face for my people that look like me.
This is what I wanted to do, and it was very challenging. That's why I'm here, and I want to be to be a role model for girls who look like me, so they can say, I can do it too.
Special guests tonight was the family of Officer Jamal Mitchell, who was killed in the line of duty in May. The family received a very warm welcome.
Yeah, never forget Minnesota. That's when Tim Walz was governor, and during the pandemic lockdowns, the forced curfews, they had police officers shooting citizens with the rubber ball guns, or was it paintball guns? If you were standing in your porch and you were breaking the curfew, they were having the police drive around and shooting citizens. Yeah, that's the Minnesota police in a nutshell. And interesting, they've been here her whole life, but they didn't take the citizenship exam, or they didn't do the process. I think some people they feel better about it because this person's been here for so long. But again, it's pretty shocking they're not citizens. They've been there for their whole life. They didn't do the process. It doesn't really add up. Now, this went pretty viral. Got 1.3 million views as well as 13,000 likes. Some of the top comments coming from Gunther Eagleman saying, quote, Governor Tim Walz approves, seeing 1.4 thousand likes. There's a TikTok respondent saying, yep, getting 379 likes. Fight with memes, though they didn't use a meme in their response. They just used text. I'm a little disappointed there, but we'll say allegedly this Fight with Memes profile name says, quote, the ultimate diversity hire. I'm sure this one won't have the predictable results. Okay, 1.1 thousand likes. Also got 620, Lives TikTok responded, saying disaster, getting 627 likes. You also have Paul Zupo saying, quote, how is it legal? Getting 477 likes. I'm a little biased, but I'm going to read this response to that because I think this gentleman is quite dapper. It's me, hashtag the topping show. It's like, quote, been the plan the whole time. Tim Pool called it. Also thinks that they will do the same thing with the military. Getting 5 likes, which, yeah, I think that'll be next. They've already, I mean, for years, the U.S. has not been able to meet any of the recruitment goals, even though they make it easier to get in the military in terms of lowering the bar more and more for the physical and aptitude test. They still can't meet, with the exception of the few in the proud, the United States Marines. They do meet the recruitment numbers, I think partially because of the heritage, the better marketing, as well as the fact that they've been less political. They've been less politicized as the other branches, as they have, a lot of people would say pejoratively, become woke and have things like paying for your surgeries to transition and all that kind of things. You also have Red Wave Press saying, quote, Tim Walz, Minnesota, getting 358 likes. You also have Colin Rugg saying, quote, come into the country illegally is now enforcing the law. Yeah, that's disgusting. Getting 2.3 thousand likes, which, yeah, it doesn't bode well for the U.S. You also have Valentina Gomez saying, quote, women are horrible in combat, in the Secret Service, and in the field as police officers. Now we got a Somalian woman with a license to kill. This is insane that it is happening. Getting 833 likes. Which, yeah, having women in the Secret Service when Trump got shot in the head, that would, I want to say that put women back 10 years in terms of optics and the public perception. But yeah, having one overweight, cowering behind Trump when he was getting shot at, the other one who, she was brave, but one girl did stand in front of Trump appropriately, but she wasn't tall enough, so Trump was still able to be shot at. And then that same big girl, well, she actually couldn't, put her pistol back in her holster. She was that poorly trained or utterly inept when they botched that whole thing. And then during another convention, you had a Secret Service gal who was a mother, or newly mother who was breastfeeding, who left her post when she was on the job to go feed her child, which, again, biology exists. That's again, I'm all about, that's a good thing. However, if you're a new mother, guess what you're thinking about if you're a good mother? The number one thing in your life, the child. Yes, your baby. And yet she was on Secret Service duty where her job is to protect the president. And if she is at all human or a good mother, she's going to be inherently distracted by, again, the number one thing in her life, which is the child. And she also went into an unauthorized room to be with the child. So she broke multiple protocols, as well as abandoning her post. And this was like, was it 2 weeks after Trump got shot? I mean, just ridiculous. So I know a lot of folks, they are, yeah, that set women back a couple of years. Again, not to everyone, but that perception was definitely, a stain on the reputation. Like, it used to be a pretty good reputation of Secret Service overall. Now, Valentina Gomez, also, she got 833 likes for that comment. You also have Libercat Media TM saying, quote, the irony of entering the country illegally but not enforcing the law. Of course, it's in a blue state. This is the doing of the clowns like Ilhan Omar getting 128 likes. Planet of memes, but they did not respond in meme form. A little disappointed. Simply said, what could possibly go wrong? Getting 296 likes. The Texas one says, we have fallen, getting 50 likes. Hello, I'm Kelly Joe says, hello, illegal aliens shouldn't be allowed to be police officers, getting 232 likes, which, yeah, it'd be hilarious when this new police officer pulls someone over and just asks someone or tries to enforce the law. They go, you're speeding, it's against the law. The person would be like, well, you broke the law. Like, well, yeah, rules for thee, but not for me. Faulty Goat says, how's this even legal? Getting 834 likes. Gina Broderick says, quote, this will not end well. Tim Walz getting 499 likes, which, perhaps that's their theory the whole time, or their goal, rather. Let's see. Dick Shelled Egg says, eventually we'll be electing them into Congress. Well, shoot. Is Ilhan Omar getting 62 likes? Florida 1 simply says, the headline should read, this is how you can destroy your city, getting 89 likes. Let's see. Yeah. Let's see. I'm Ken says, Tim Walz, Minnesota is as bad as California, getting 54 likes. Ooh, that'd be a hard one to guess. No, what would be worse? Fiscally speaking, I think California is worse in terms of losing businesses throughout the years. They've lost so many of the large companies that used to be headquartered there. Minnesota, I haven't read as many headlines about businesses and people moving out. I don't think the retention, or rather the attrition rate of companies, make it worse in that metric alone. But yeah, another metric, so yeah, Minnesota is definitely worse. You also have Wild Bill, North Carolina, saying Minneapolis fell a long time ago, getting 104 likes. Any contrary statements? Not really. Keith Ainsworth says, how's this even possible? They have taken an oath to uphold the Constitution. That's true. Getting 20 likes. Trump AI says, how's this thinking? 64 likes. Which, yeah. Not seeing too many contrarian comments here. And I'm scrolling, and again, I try to follow people who are on the left, in the middle, on the right, on social media. That way, when I look at the top comments, the people who follow you appear first. So that way I can actually, kind of get a good, well-rounded opinion, or not just opinion, well-rounded sample size. But I mean, I'm not seeing those folks speak up for this particular thread here. And yeah, again, of all the things, I'm surprised how you don't have to take a citizenship test. Like, I guess I should say I'm surprised, but not surprised at this point with how the United States is trending. And culturally speaking, I mean, I would have thought this would have become a political or divisive thing throughout the years, and yet it is almost becoming a thing where people are cheering people on for breaking the law and entering the country illegally. I mean, amnesty is becoming more and more of a top. That's almost a copy-paste thing with Republicans and Democrats not fixing the border throughout the decades. And yeah, in terms of how this will pan out in Minnesota, again, it very well could inspire the people in the Somali community, which, again, in the terms of that community, it is huge in Minneapolis. Maybe it'll inspire them to become more involved in volunteering and getting involved in public service. But again, if they're not American citizens, that is really, I think for a lot of Americans, doesn't pass the gut check, even though this is also a civic duty. Yeah, it's just a very unusual situation, really. I don't think at the end of the day, I'm not sure how well it'll bode, because again, they read law, but let me know in the comments. It's one of the most interesting things to happen lately, which is saying something. But let me know, because as always, I'd be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the political part of the podcast, you have Trump meeting with Zelenskyy at the good old Trump Tower, as maybe someday the war will come to an end, which may disappoint a lot of people like Zelenskyy, because yeah, we sent them nearly $200 billion. Granted, that is a mixture between cash as well as munitions and other materials that we're sending them, which some could argue does boost the U.S. economy with the defense industry. Though I would also argue if you're actually not selling them for a profit to other countries, you're just moving money around, not really creating new value. But an economics debate for another time, perhaps. This is brought to us thanks to Benny Johnson on the good old X Twitter, which he says, quote, breaking, Trump and Zelenskyy met at Trump Tower. It's only a 12-second long, but impressive nevertheless. Got almost 8 million views. See here. Of course, Trump is his iconic blue suit and red tie. And Zelenskyy, I'm not sure why. Maybe that's his brand to be fashion inept. But he's wearing his cliche, what is that? Combat boots and like military pants and his sweater. Which, granted, as we all know, true men always suit up for the most important moments in their life. Granted, acceptance for if you're an actual soldier in battle, which, in his defense, I know he's probably played like Battle, was it the video game? Yeah, is it Battlefield? Yeah, that's a video game. Then maybe Call of Duty. In his defense, he may have been very active in those battles. But, yeah, wearing a... I mean, I can't imagine. The U.S. alone is given about almost $200 billion. All these countries, and... Oh, actually, now I'm curious. How much have they gotten? So I'm gonna use the AI tool Grok on the good old X Twitter. How much money? Let's see, has Ukraine gotten? Let's see here. So this is information as of June 30th, 2024. Total aid, $278 billion. Wow. That is insane. I'm curious, does Zelenskyy, let's see. Yeah, SKY. Wife does she have a Bugatti? Keep hearing that more and more. Grok, the AI tool from X Twitter, says no. They've been claims that she purchased a Bugatti for around 4.5 billion euros, but that's debunked. Bugatti itself, including Bugatti Paris, confirmed there's no such presence. Yes, we busted that myth for now. So she does not, in fact, have a Bugatti. So funds are mysteriously vanishing left and right, but I partially digress. Now, going to the comments again, it's one of those viral moments. And again, depending on what poll you're reading, Trump and Kamala are neck and neck. So who knows might come up on top, or what votes might come in at 2 in the morning, day of the election, or week after the election. So there is a possibility that Trump will win, and then presumably he'll, cut off that spigot of the U.S., giving Ukraine hundreds of billions of dollars, and he'll get Zelenskyy and Putin to sit at a table, and they'll get him to actually put a deal together and end the war, so we can actually, get back to focusing on, fixing the inflation in the United States, getting back to actually, getting back to work. Hopefully that happens and the dying actually stops. Now again, this is actually just refreshing the page again. I got 2.9 million views. One of the first comments coming from Based Electrician saying, quote, it's he's pretending he's Trump, saying, "You'll get nothing." Yeah, maybe the worst Trump quote impression you've heard all year, but did give it a shot. I got 1.8 thousand likes though. I also look at Media TM saying, same outfit as usual. There's a picture of Zelenskyy with a sweater, but it has the My Venmo QR code on it. And that got 375 likes. David Solian says, "Ceasefire now." And Zelenskyy laughing at the little flag, and at least he has a polo this time. Says, "You know who isn't struggling to pay groceries and rent?" Yeah. What was this statistic? $270 billion? Now that did get 1.2 thousand likes. Donna Maria, says Trump knows exactly how to deal with Zelenskyy. Get 1.2 thousand likes. Ryan Duff says, "We want this video where Trump picks Zelenskyy up by the ankles and shakes all that money back out of the pockets." Got 7.5 thousand likes. We also have Ryan Spiander saying, quote, "Look, I get it, but he is here on American soil. He can put away the toy soldier affair and put on an effing suit." Game 4.8. Let's see if we can make 4.9 thousand. Oh, we did. There we go. 4.9 thousand likes. Got lucky with that today. Let's see. We also have Evan Dyer. It says, "End the endless wars." Looks like is it the NPR guy that's struggling? Or not NPR, NPS, MPV, MPC, that's what it is. It says, "Please help, I'm struggling to afford groceries." There's a picture of all the politicians from Kamala to Biden, to Dan Crenshaw, the turtle guy. We also have Chuck Schumer, George Soros, AOC. There's a lot of heads. What is that? What is the age-old gentleman from Kentucky who's a Republican? Well, it eludes me at the moment. I know he announced his retirement. He's old as dirt. He's already having, unfortunately, mental issues when he abruptly stops speaking in front of a microphone and camera, and he has to be escorted off. It's drive me insane. Now, sometimes the camera gives me brain farts, admittedly. But again, under the politician, it says, quote, "You fail to understand that what a good investment $100 billion is for Ukraine is," which that was the most hilarious thing when they first started the conflict in Russia and Ukraine. I mean, Zelenskyy is going around the globe, and he's coming to the U.S. to ask for more money. He says, think of it as this is an investment. Which, talk about the worst investment. The best investment fiscally in history was Ukraine giving Hunter Biden like $75,000 per year to be on the board of Burisma. And for a couple of years, what was it, 5 or 7 years? And they've gotten $200 billion back. That is the best ROI in history. So, they're good at business, or, bribery and extortion. But nevertheless, that did get 2.1 thousand likes. Pretty popular. Adrian says, "Do you ever notice how dictators always wear the same military attire?" They do have that. Well, I guess they're all in almost like the same hue of green, but Zelenskyy as well as Fidel Castro and, was it, dictator of Venezuela, getting 1.7 thousand likes. Biggest Langman says, quote, "You can tell who's the alpha male walking through those doors in an instant," getting 951 likes. Let's see here. Any contrarian statements? Because again, this issue is fascinating that it's become a political issue in the U.S. where about 50-50 people, it's a 50-50 split between people saying we need to support Ukraine, and they got the flags on their doorstep, and they don't even have the United States flags, and half the country saying, no, why are we giving them a penny when, again, the U.S. is $35 trillion in debt thanks to the ineptitudes of the Republicans and the Democrats spending more and more money than we've ever had before. It's ridiculous. And yet we still have giving hundreds of billions of dollars to Ukraine. And people are struggling in the U.S. I don't know. To me, fix stuff here first. There's so many things we could, there are millions of things we could invest in, like actually invest in. If I was in charge of the U.S. the U.S. spending, where I would allocate resources much dramatically differently than what they're doing now. Now, you also have Daily Trite saying, quote, "The deep state is pissing themselves right now. They know their gravy train is about to end and their crimes are about to be exposed," getting 911 likes. You also have Big Chungus saying, quote, "Trump might be the only man in a potential leadership position who wants to actually stop the war. Too much profit, too much struggle, advantages to keeping it going." 896 likes. see here. And granted, Benny Johnson is politically speaking is much more on the right, and so I guess it makes sense in terms of people who follow him on X Twitter. They're more right leaning as this is again become a political issue, and yeah, it's I guess that, I mean inherently sample size is going to be more favorable to Billy in this statements, or sorry, Benny, but yeah, not a lot of contrarian statements. Again, there are a lot of Americans who say we should send them even more money. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see at the end of the day what's that negotiation like if Trump does win and how quickly. I mean Trump is saying he could end that war day one. I mean even before he gets to office, he says as soon as he gets elected. I mean I can't really think in terms of fixing stopping the war. It would be pretty simple in terms of getting a conference call saying, "Hey Zelensky, you get no money more." Which again, we look at who's giving Zelensky Ukraine the most money. The U.S. is the biggest donor by bar none. It's not even a comparison between the other countries that are chipping in. I mean, if you stop that spigot, and then you tell Russia, "Hey, we're going to negotiate. You're going to get X, Y, Z, no more." Try to make it. I mean, a lot of people aren't going to be happy, but it is a cliche to say you make it a win-win situation. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's probably the outcome that has the highest probability. Because again, I was going to say everyone wants to stop. Some don't, because again, they're getting paid billions of dollars. But many people do want that to stop. So I do think it's absolutely possible, especially because the U.S. is funding it so heavily that the biggest influence bar none how it's going to handle. But let me know, what are the odds? Do you think it'll actually happen? Do you think Trump will be able to polish off dust off his old book, The Art of the Deal, and make it happen? Let me know in the comments, because as always, it'd be fascinating to hear what you have to say. Other interesting political news: you have Nancy Pelosi's husband sold $500,000 of Visa stock right before the Department of Justice filed an antitrust lawsuit against them. Yeah, a friendly reminder: the most successful trader in history isn't Warren Buffett. No, it's the Pelosi's, because they're that smart and articulate at reading the market and finding the best picks. Probably. Well, no, absolutely not. It's just insider trading, which again, people are saying they're going to be sent to jail. No, they won't, because right now it's technically legal because the government officials make the rules for themselves. And yeah, it's technically allowed. So Nancy Pelosi, she herself, with the current laws that we have in the books right now, she cannot go out and buy Visa stock or buy stocks and buy and sell. They allow them to put into a blind trust. However, her husband can do whatever he wants. And yeah, you can see the big red flag of interesting how the spouses have all these magical trades that are beating the market better than S&P 500 by a lot, and beating the market better than Warren Buffett and all these historical traders actually, trade full-time as a job. How are they doing all that? Well, they buy and sell the stock before they pass laws that have a direct correlation and impact on those businesses. It's one of those things where, and again, it's one of those things, politically speaking, there is, not a lot, but there is some unity in terms of people on the left and the right saying we need to stop this. Two of the people who, ideologically are polar opposites, AOC and Matt Gaetz, they actually came together and they had a proposal saying, hey, we need to make this illegal because, again, it erodes what little respect Americans have for politicians, which I'm not sure how much is left, but it still does that. And it's also just one of those things like you and I would say, oh yeah, it does. It's not ethical. It's not right. They're manipulating the market with these laws. And yeah, so there is some, not a lot, because again, most politicians are self-serving. But again, it's one of the things where I say I don't agree with many of the policies that AOC has and many of her ideals, but shoot, she actually came together with Matt Gaetz and they said, hey, we don't agree with each other on darn near anything, but we think this is important. Now, unfortunately, the bill, as suspected, yeah, it basically went nowhere. But there are a couple people in DC who are at least trying to do something. Granted, the bar is pretty low to do anything at all. This comes to us thanks to MoneyWise, which they say, quote, Nancy Pelosi's husband dumped thousands of Visa shares worth over $500,000 just 2 months before the DOJ's antitrust lawsuit and is reigniting political trading rumors, which, yeah, of course it is. Really? Oh, geez. I am sorry, folks. If you're tuning in on YouTube, or better yet, on rumble.com, the topic show, I should have given you a visual warning. There is now a picture on the screen of, oh, heaven forbid, Nancy Pelosi and her husband, which, Father Time is he can be a cruel man. Geez, just look at, got my first gray hair in middle school, for Christ's sake. Or no, high school. But it's been downhill ever since, some might joke. But yeah, they, almost as if you could, soulless eyes. That's what really scares folks the most with her. But only partially jest. This is written to us thanks to Bethany Morecraft, who's writer over there. Which she says, quote, Nancy Pelosi's husband jumped 2,000 Visa shares in July, just weeks before the payment giant was sued by the U.S. Department of Justice for monopolizing the debt markets. The debit markets. The timely trade, which documents have shown worth at least $500,000, has once again set the rumor mill about the former House Speaker and her venture capitalist husband's investing strategies, which have netted them an impressive 9-figure net worth over the years. Pretty damn impressive to say the least, fiscally speaking. Pelosi's spokesperson says multiple times that the Congresswoman does not have any stocks, which that's a very political statement. That is very true. She does not own stocks. Her husband does. They say, quote, the money moves are being made by her husband, Paul, and as required by law, she discloses his trades in Congress via periodic transaction reports. Well, that's nice. Aha, that was sarcasm, folks. Yeah. Now they say, quote, the DOJ filed a civil antitrust lawsuit against monopolizing payment giant Visa September 24th for anti-competitive conduct and monopolizing the debit market. It claims Visa illegally paid its rivals to keep them out of the market and hinder innovation. As a result, it holds 60% share of the debit payment market and earns about $7 billion annual in debit swipe fees per the DOJ, which is a pretty petty and also a reason to, if you're shopping at small businesses, use cash. Because again, that business owner is going to make on average, 2 to 4% more in terms of profitability. And it's also, I think, better, keep that in cash for privacy concerns, as well as it's helping the business owner. There's a lot of benefits, and you could see, especially if you're dealing with the owner of like a small mom and pop hairstylist or like a restaurant, I mean, their eyes light up. And if they happen to not report it, that makes my eyes light up a little bit as well, the IRS. So, of course, officially I'm saying I would never ever recommend that in real life. That was totally a joke. But, again, going back to the actual article, they say, quote, Visa stock some shortly after the DOJ's announcement, but unlike some investors, the Pelosi's came out of the dip without too much pain. That's because Paul sold his 2,000 shares, again, before that actually happened, which, yeah, I know a lot of people are saying, they're going to try to get this banned maybe, but yeah, I don't think I'm pretty skeptical to say the least. And of course, I mean, they are, what is their, let me go to the good old Grok tool, which I'm using more and more, the AI tool with X Twitter. What is their net worth? What is the net worth of Nancy and her husband, Pelosi? Because I think in government, well, granted, he's a venture capitalist, so he actually, does something as a day job. Wow. They're worth almost $250 million. So as of July 2024, again, this is according to Grok, I don't know how to actually pronounce it. Yeah, 240. Wow. That is insane. Now they also note that 45 million is attributed to his real estate holdings. It is mostly, mostly stocks, a lot of tech stocks. Wow. So not surprising, the Pelosi's are making bank with more and more stock tradings. And yeah, it's one of those things where I think if you actually need to put this on a public ballot, or like have the average person be able to vote on it, I think pretty much most people would say, yeah, if you're the government employee or a direct family member of a government employee, you forfeit your ability or privilege to buy publicly traded companies. I think, dude, that might be one of the very few topics that actually unites people on the left and the right. There's not many of those topics left, but I think that actually might bring some folks together. Because again, no one feels it's fair. I mean, they could see them directly benefiting from these instances where they make money, they buy and sell right before the big changes are coming, big lawsuits or big purchases. But let me know in the comments, do you think this practice will ever actually, end in our lifetime, or do you think it'll always just be the status quo? Let me know in the comments, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going on to the business blunder of the week, you have Facebook fined over $100 million for a breach in 2019, which, well, granted for them is rounding error, but to me, geez Louise, and most people, there's several lifetimes of money just evaporated, which, yeah, if I was a Facebook shareholder, I'd be pretty irate in terms of, well, also, interestingly enough, for all these fines, where do they actually go at the end of the day? I mean, all these fines, all these taxes, and our government still is a deficit, $35 trillion in debt. Again, I mean, I would love to audit their books one of these days. Now, this is brought to us thanks to TechCrunch.com. Specifically, Natasha Lomas, who's a writer over there, saying, quote, Facebook fined $101.5 million for a 2019 breach that exposed hundreds of millions of Facebook passwords. There you can see their new logo. Looks like a bleeding, or like a painted weird M infinity logo thing. That's paint is dripping. Which, let's see here. Is that actually their... Not the most impressive logo, but nevertheless, they say, quote, reset your clocks. Meta has hit yet another privacy penalty in Europe on Friday. So actually, apologies, it's a European thing. They say the Ireland Data Protection Commission announced a reprimand of 91 million bottles of whiskey, or whatever their currency is. 91 million DeLoreans? I forget what they actually use for currency over there. I'm probably right. They say, quote, or around 101.5 million at the current exchange rates after concluding a multi-year investigation into a 2019 security breach by Facebook parent company. The DPC opened a statutory inquiry into the incident in question April 2019 under the bloc's General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR, after Meta, the Facebook company, was still calling it back then, notified hundreds of millions of users. Passwords have been stored in plain text on its servers, which, yeah, you don't do that. Security incident is a legal issue in the European Union because the GDPR requires that personal data is appropriately stored securely. After investigating, the DPC concluded that Meta failed to meet the block's legal standards since the passwords are not protected by encryption, which, how they let that slip. It created a risk as third parties could potentially access the people's sensitive information stored on their social media accounts. The regulator, which leads the oversight of Meta's GDPR, also found Meta broke the rules by failing to notify its breach within the required time frame. Looks like it's supposed to take place no later than 72 hours, which, yeah, due to that. And they also failed to properly document the breach as well. Ouch. They say, quote, in a statement, the Deputy Commissioner, Graham Doyle, wrote, it's widely accepted that user passwords should not be stored in plain text, considering the risk of the abuse arise from a person accessing such data. It must be borne in mind that the password is subject to consideration in the case are particularly sensitive and would enable access to the user's social media accounts, which, yeah, you don't, for the love of God, you don't store stuff in plain text, which, yeah, that's not good. It looks like this is the highest penalty possible under the GDPR is 4% of the global annual turnover. So in Meta's case, that fine is a significant chunk of change, but it remains a tiny fraction of the billions the company could theoretically face if given the annual revenue for 2023 was a staggering, geez Louise, $134.9 billion, which I can't imagine so much money for that, for the Facebook. I'm astonished that people actually pay for advertisements. I've tried boosting ads for my tech company, trying to get people to like register for events that we host and tech seminars, talk offense, and those types of cybersecurity events that we host. And I think I got like not even one registration from last time. Now, granted, the sample size in terms of our budget, for a lot of people, is nothing. I think we tested the waters at $200 and tried to target people or prospective clients within 60 miles of the event location. And we even used job titles and tried to get pretty granular to make it a better ROI to get those targets. And you get single registration. It was a terrible ROI. Now, granted, my tech company is a business to business, so we're looking for people who are executives or tech leaders at businesses, usually headquartered in Texas. And so I guess, that's a smaller sample size as opposed to if you're selling a product directly to consumer where, most everyone has the ability to purchase your product. You're not limited to someone who's in an IT executive position. But I mean, yeah, I can't believe even my friends who do have some of those direct to consumer businesses, they don't have a great ROI anymore for those ads. So I'm still impressed they make $134.9 billion. Because again, many of that is ads. They also sell their data, but yeah, so much money. And yet, again, being a global company, I don't want to say they have nearly unlimited resources, but in terms of being able to hire people both locally and globally to understand the complex different laws that are all over the globe, make sure you're compliant with them. Yeah, I gotta say, Facebook, the fact they didn't have someone joining on the spot to actually, monitor and execute those things, gotta say, man, that is certainly the business blunder of the day. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Again, trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so you can click that button. I greatly appreciate it. Also, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, or comment. It's a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make sure better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe, fight the good fight.